Welcome to Sex Talk Radio, a podcast that explores kink and sex through candid and curious conversations. Join me and expert guests in exploring taboos and unpacking what it means to be sex and kink positive. I recently squirted for the first time, and it was a lot of liquid. That's why I'm so glad that I've since found Splash Blanket. They create incredible waterproof blankets for all types of fluids. They have them in a bunch of different sizes and textures, and they are truly incredible and very absorbent. Go to splashblanket.us and use code SEGGS for 15% off of your entire order. Lube is important for a lot of different sexual experiences, whether it is solo play or partnered play. It can enhance sensation and just make everything so much more enjoyable. I really love Mochi Melt. Their product is extremely high quality. It smells and tastes delicious, and it looks great on your bedside table. My favorite flavor is Honeydew. 10 out of 10, I recommend and love Mochi Melt. Go to mochimelt.com and use code THEA, THEA, for 15% off of your order. Today's episode of Sex Talk Radio is sponsored by the HUD app. HUD is changing the face of casual dating by offering an alternative and empowered approach to commitment-free dating. Go to hudapp.com/sextalk, that's hudapp.com/SEGGS talk for a week on me. A quick note, the HUD app is available on both iOS and Android and is available to users 18 and over. Okay, hi Voodoo.
Hi, Thea.
How you doing?
I'm so good.
Good. I need to hear about your night. So I went over to your hotel room, as one does when they first meet each other.
Yes.
And we did a sexy film photo shoot, which was great. Breaking the ice. And then you went out and checked out Austin a little bit.
I did.
Good.
Yeah. So the first thing I do when I travel, I always try to go to live music.
I love that.
And I actually went to a couple of places. I went to one place. I saw a band whose music was amazing, by the way. Like, I will actually listen to their entire album. And then I went to another place. I think it was the Elephant Room.
Oh, okay. I think that's a famous jazz. Yeah.
I heard. Yeah. And so, so I was referred to go there. And so I went there. Saw some jazz and then I met a guy.
Tell me.
So I will say this. I had
a feeling. You look great. I was like, I don't know about this girl. She's going to get into something.
Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh. It's so funny because, like, you know, LA is LA, but like I've never encountered so many attractive people all in one place.
As here?
Here, yeah. I was like, oh my God. I was like, wow, everyone's like hot.
But at the Elephant Room, that's probably a lot of travelers, people visiting maybe. Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm like, our locals are boring tech bros.
He actually lives in LA, so it's like,
there you go.
Yeah. But I was like, oh my God, he was very hot. Like we were talking and like, you know, silver fox. I have a thing for silver foxes.
Oh, love.
Yeah. And yeah, we talked. We had a really great conversation, and then then I went back to his hotel.
Okay.
We didn't have sex. We kind of like, you know, like played around, but it was really nice. I mean,
fun.
I haven't had any, to be honest, I haven't had any action like ages. So
it was
said
like that. You also were telling me how you'd never get hit on.
Yeah, and I think that only happened because I realized like maybe I'm the problem.
Like you should make the move.
Yeah, because like I think when it comes to like flirting, I don't flirt with people.
I don't feel like I'm very good at flirting.
Me neither. I'm
good at flirting with guys that I'm not interested in. I can be like,
same. I'm like a totally different person. But yeah, oh my gosh, I totally get that. So yeah, I realized like, oh my gosh, maybe I am the problem. So I was keeping this in mind. So I saw him and I made sure to make eye contact, which is something I don't like to do.
Bit of effort.
Yeah.
Same.
So he came over, he bought me a drink and we chatted. And so I was like, okay, I think I probably need to do more of this. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was
great.
Good times.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you had told me a little bit last night about your past visit to Austin or Texas, and that was kind of weird. And so I'm glad I'm glad you are redefining your relationship with Texas.
Thank you. Yeah. I think that last trip definitely shaped what I thought.
Exactly.
Austin
That's why I was like, okay, let's get you to Congress. Let's get you to some music. So yeah, I'm glad you had a different experience. Well, I'm super glad you're here and to chat about life and sex and kink and healing and cults and being on reality TV and what else?
The whole shebang.
Where do we start?
Gosh.
So yeah, I mean, we have been connected for a little while on Instagram, just following each other. You've been like a great hype woman, I feel like. Always like heart and liking my stuff. Shout out Melissa. Always does that too. Thank you. So yeah, where do you want to jump in?
Oh, man. I mean, there's like so many beginnings. I guess like, because there's so many things. It's like, okay, yeah. So I did grow up in a cult. And I think a lot of that definitely shaped who I am as a person. And I think that it definitely has been sort of like the building block foundation. Of like, the foundation of pretty much everything that I do in life. So like, I'm a tattoo artist. That also has something to do with it. You're a tattoo artist, lingerie line owner, content creator. Yes. And I'm currently in school right now to become a somatic sexologist.
Love that.
And I mean, there's so many things. I mean, there's so many things I want to do. Like, I want to get into opera. I've always wanted to be like a ballet dancer. So like I plan to start classes.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Ballet.
I just like, I like a lot of things. I like to keep myself busy. But I think like, I guess like my identity is that, I'm an artist and, currently working to become, a coach. And I think that a lot of my experiences in life has definitely sort of afforded me that, that status, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess I would kind of just start off like, I guess like my
let's take
background.
It back to childhood and cult life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think people have a lot of ideas when they think of cult, and yours was actually familial. So yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I could go on for hours about this, but
we're good. No rush.
So when I was 1, my mother met this man who pretty big ego. He believed that he was, the Antichrist. And so I was 1. They got together and then they had, 13 kids. So I was the oldest of 13 kids. And pretty much like my day-to-day life was, me, getting up in the morning, cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, helping my younger siblings. So I never really had a childhood. And so most of my life was kind of just spent caretaking. Yeah. And then the times that I did have to myself, I spent that time like imagining my life outside of that, like what I wanted to achieve, what I wanted in life, which was very, very different than what I was taught or I was like raised to be. I was raised to be like my mother, you have a bunch of kids, you get married and, all that. There was no encouragement to be independent. There was no encouragement to be, a career woman,
Well, and you had such a creative brain, like you're an artist. And so when you were alone, you probably got to think about like that, use that other part of your brain that was curious. And
yeah. And like, luckily for me, that was a huge outlet. Otherwise, I think I would have probably have literally gone insane. Creating an art has always been such like an important part of my life. I mean, I always say this, if it weren't for art, I would literally be a crack whore, just like roaming the streets. I'm really not even joking when I say this.
Sure.
And I probably would have been just as happy. It's like, I have an addictive personality. And so like, luckily, like I chose like art as that sort of outlet. But yeah, art in a lot of ways has definitely, it's saved my life. And I'm just incredibly thankful that something in me was like, you're going to do this. I don't know what, like the universe, I don't really know what it was, but something was like, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And I kept pursuing it. And then like for me, like I have so many interests just kind of like all over the place. So it's kept me busy. And that's not to say that I don't struggle with addiction.
Yeah.
When I left that situation, I immediately got into drugs and alcohol, and I lived a very fast life. I was just, constantly inebriated. I was under the influence a lot. And I think also like I'm on the spectrum too. And so I think like the alcohol and the drugs kind of like put me in a different mindset. It was a way for me to forget.
It also kind of, I mean, I have anxiety and ADHD, and I found with my drinking in my early 20s that it just made me feel fucking normal, whatever normal feels like a normal person at a party. So assuming it was similar being on the spectrum, just like, I just kind of feel, and if you're grown up in an extremely dysfunctional household, it's just, you don't have any emotional coping skills. So of course you're going to go to the things that provide relief.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, you're right. I spent like most of my life coping, and I didn't even realize I was coping until quite literally 2020 when everything shut down. There were no bars open. There was nothing open. And so I was like forced to be by myself. And that's when I really had this sort of like, I guess like come to Jesus moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like there are things I need to work on. And I was never a spiritual person at all. Like in fact, like spirituality repulsed me in a lot of ways.
It can be cringe if it's, ego-led spiritual bullshit. But
and like being in Seattle, like I was, when I became an adult, like I had a lot of friends who were very much into like the whole spiritual, they're, different religions, of course, and some were spiritual, some were, Buddhist or whatever. And I just found it so cringe. And then
same girl. But then, I'm like, you don't need to tell everyone about it.
I know. I never said anything, but I was like,
no, not you.
Like
just
so
like
fake. Like
woo-woo spiritual people. Like they don't need to share everything that they do.
Yeah. But ironically, now I'm one of them. I can't shut up about it. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like during the pandemic, it was like, whoa, like I had this like awakening, I guess, like this ascension. And it quite literally changed my life.
Was that when you stopped drinking? Like when you got sober?
No, I was drunk as fuck.
During
actually,
the pandemic?
The entire time.
Oof.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, that's actually how I started my brand. So like everything closed down. I was like, okay, I don't know how long this is going to go for. And I'd rather not have wasted my time. Like
that's when you started sewing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, I don't know if this is going to be like a week or a month. Who knows how long this would take. So I was like, I need to have some skills because that was the first thing. That was the first time in my entire life that I didn't work. That was the first time I didn't have any responsibility. I had been cooking, cleaning, doing everything since I was 7 years old.
Wow.
And then when I got out of the house, I started working. I worked multiple jobs. All I knew how to do was work and hustle.
Yeah.
And for the first time in my life, it was just...
It was like a weird spaciousness. I actually felt kind of free during the pandemic too. And I know that's a really privileged thing to say as well, because I had income coming in through unemployment, stuff like that.
Same.
So I acknowledge that. And for me, it was just like, oof, like I could breathe. And luckily for me, I had actually gotten sober 3 months before the pandemic started. So I just I cooked food and I learned to embroider and I started pickling stuff. Like, I don't know, I just became a little
my God, I love that.
I became a little fucking housewife and like just, I had to channel.
Too? You said you were embroidering.
Embroidering,
too. Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I had to channel the addictive, obsessive doer into something. I had to channel it.
Yeah. I totally resonate with that. I mean... That's kind of like what I did too, like with the whole sewing thing and like teaching myself how to make patterns and things like that. And I mean, I know that the pandemic wasn't great for everybody.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it wasn't great for me either, but it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It really was. I mean, I don't think I would be where I'm at now had it not been for that.
Sure. So, I mean, I saw some of them last night. You make like beautiful handmade, or a lot of the work you've done is handmade lingerie. Which is really cool. I mean, when I saw it, it did not look handmade. Like it looked very high production. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's go back to Colt really quick. So, because I think we jumped over just a little bit about what, so it was basically your stepfather that was kind of brainwashing, manipulating your mom and all of you children into believing what and doing what.
So it changed a lot. I mean, like...
he sounds mentally ill too.
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I mean, I think that any cult leader is mentally
ill.
But there was a lot of mental illness and a lot of contradiction as far as like the beliefs go. I mean, like at one point we were worshiping the sun and then, the next morning it's like, oh, okay, we're worshiping Satan.
Whoa.
It was a lot of changes. I mean, and I say this quite literally, like we woke up one day because we had like like a routine. Like, so we would get up and we would make prayers.
Enforced by him?
Yeah.
Okay.
And one day we woke up and he's like, okay, so now instead of worshiping the sun, they have like a name for the sun actually that they like made up. And they're like, okay, now you're worshiping Satan. But I don't remember if we called it Satan, but I just knew that like it was like when I got older, I was like, okay, I guess that's like
that's
the
what
devil.
we were doing.
Yeah. Everything it changed a lot. So there was never like really a consistent thing. But yeah, which is going to make you feel, especially a kid, even more unsafe if there's no predictability of what your energy is going towards. Was there anybody else involved aside from the immediate family? I think that they tried to recruit people, mainly women. We had a lot of women that would come in and out.
Wow.
Who we were told were sort of like supposed to be our second mothers or our as they would call it.
Was that so he could be like have multiple?
Yeah. And have as many children as he possibly could.
Wow.
So yeah, there were a few women that, that we got close to. And to be honest with you, when that would happen, it was almost like a relief because he was less abusive with other women. And I think it was like that whole stage where it's like, okay, you can't be like your full self in the beginning.
Kind of have to fake what's going on behind closed doors.
Yep.
Wow.
And then slowly sort of like start to implement like the abuse.
Wow.
So when we had these women that would come in who were our second mothers, it was like things were, I guess, kind of normal. I mean, there was still a lot of that going on. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, growing up in that, like, I've always been an anxious person. And so the entire time, I didn't realize this until like I fully left the situation and I was like, I'm just now healed, I guess, as of like 2 years ago. And I was like, oh my God, like I've spent my entire life in survivor mode because
fight
of
or
that.
flight.
Yeah. The constant shaking and the sweating, like all of that. And a lot of that did have to do with my childhood and just constantly feeling unsafe.
Sure.
And
that'll also lead to numbing and
and that was a big thing too. Like I'm just now finally getting in touch with my emotions. I mean, I was such an angry person for so long. And then that anger turned to sadness and I couldn't regulate it. Like I had a hard time regulating. And then of course numbing it with drugs and alcohol and, other substances and sex even.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, you seem so. What was the show you were on again?
Black Ink Crew.
Black Ink Crew. Okay, I always forget it. I was watching some videos and clips of you, and I mean, I don't know how many years ago that was, but it's like a completely different energy. Like I can tell you've done the work.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I was literally blacked out the entire time. So,
with alcohol.
Pardon?
With drinking.
Oh yeah,
alcohol?
Yeah, for sure. I think like also like just being in front of the camera and then like just I was being re-triggered because I was at that time, like when I was filming, I was still in denial.
When was that?
2021, I think is when I started. And then
before the pandemic.
Yeah. And then I filmed a little bit after. So like, actually, 2019, from 2019, I think to 2021 was the time frame that I was filming. And
you were getting re-triggered, you said.
Oh yeah. I mean, because so I moved to LA in 2018 to get away from everything. Like I needed to start over.
So you were around your mom and stepdad until 18 or
no?
Okay. You got out.
I left like when I was 19. So I would say probably, how old am I? 11, 12 years ago. 12 maybe years ago.
How old were you when you left your mom
19.
and stepdad? Oh, so you were, in my mind, you like ran away when you were 16 or something.
Oh, no. I tried to be honest with you. I wasn't allowed to.
I mean, your story literally makes me think of like the captive, when a random man kidnaps a random woman and like keeps her, like the way that you had to cope with creativity and art and like trying to stay sane and like stay alive. The ways that people's brains rewire when they've been kidnapped and stuff. It's like you had to go through that. I just can't believe you were there till you're 19. Up until I discovered Mochi Melt, I felt like buying lube was an embarrassing thing. I would get it from Target, put it in my little bag and hide it. It also was just like not very presentable. I didn't want it on my bedside table. And when I found Mochi Melt, it just really changed my perception of lube in general. And I've honestly been using it in a lot more of my sexual experiences lately because it's just so different. Silky and smooth. It tastes delicious. It smells delicious. And it really elevates a sexual experience. I think that there are a lot of misconceptions about lube, and I honestly find that it enhances most sexual experiences. My favorite flavor of Mochi Melt is honeydew. And honestly, like you could eat it. It is so good. So go to mochimelt.com and use code THEA, THEA, for 15% off of your order. And I look forward to hearing your thoughts.
I know. And
wow.
That's the thing too. In their mind, like I wasn't technically an adult. Actually, I think it was just after in their mind, I wasn't an adult. So there was no like, oh, okay, you're 18, you're an adult now.
Right. They wanted to keep you. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep me, or they wanted to marry me off so that they can get like a dowry.
Wow.
So their whole like thing was,
what year is it?
I know. Their whole thing was like making sure that we were virgins so that like we had more value as virgins. So we weren't allowed to date. And yeah. And you know, when I was working, I had to give my entire paycheck to them. Like, and I remember like my first job was at Target, and I remember asking my mother, I was like, I want to move, like I want to have my own life. And she was like, no, you need to get married first.
Whoa.
But it never made sense to me because it's like, okay, I'm not allowed to date. So how the fuck am I supposed to get married?
Right.
So they, at one point, like when I was 16, they tried to set me up with one of my stepfather's sons. So I guess my stepbrother.
Yeah.
Luckily that did not work out. He was not interested, so it didn't work out. But everything was just, I guess I could say I did not have like a typical like.
No, you did not. When was it in your healing journey and after you left that you realized that it was a cult and that it was very not normal? Like, was there somebody,
actually kind
like
of
a therapist or?
No, it was actually, so I knew that there was something wrong, and I did see therapists when I was in Washington. I stopped seeing a therapist because it was my first meeting. I'd never been to a therapist before. And I was telling her what happened, and everything I told her, her eyes got wider and wider. She was like, sure. And I was like, oh my God. And then I think I internalized that, and I was like, okay, there's something wrong with me. So I never went back until years later after, being on the show.
Yeah.
And I actually made them pay for it because I was like, you guys are
sure.
Yeah. And so when I first moved here, I started dating a guy. Actually,
when you first moved to LA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when I moved to LA, I met a guy. Actually, it was a little bit before. I was visiting, trying to figure out, okay, like where do I want to plant my feet? I met this guy on Bumble, and we went on one date, and we were together since.
Oh my goodness!
So I ended up moving in with him, and as I got to know him, we started talking about like our childhood, and I was like, oh my God, we have the same childhood. So he was like 17 years older than I am. He grew up in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay.
His parents were in a cult. So we basically have the same mom, except his mom left his
guy.
dad. Yeah. And but unfortunately his stepfather was pretty abusive. Or was it the other way around? But anyway, I think like his stepfather was also abusive, something like that. But anyway, we had like the same childhood.
Sure.
She grew up in a cult. She was very sort of, submissive. And so he and I bonded, but I realized later it was more like trauma bonding because it was a very, very toxic.
You're like, oh, you're the only person that understands my life because it's so specific. Yeah, trauma bonding is kind of scary because you feel like nobody will ever understand you again that way. So
yeah. And then when I say it was toxic, so when you grow up in a very traumatic and dysfunctional childhood,
Right.
I think
That's
you
your
have two
norm.
options.
That's like your baseline.
Yeah, you can either be overly an empath or you can be a
kind of shut down
narcissist. Yeah. And shut down. Like it all just depends on like our coping mechanisms. For me, I was always chasing love and chasing approval. And I never got it from my mother. I never got it. I certainly didn't get it from my stepfather.
Sure.
So I was always like, you know,
where can I get it from someone else?
Yeah. And so, you know, I ended up developing like attachment, you know, bonding issues. And then he was, you know, he had to self-soothe, like he, you know, from abandonment and
the partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So together,
oof,
not a good combo.
Intense. Yeah.
Yeah. Very intense.
So what did your relationship to sex and your sexuality and attraction to other people, what did that look like at that time?
Yeah.
As you emerged?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, So my childhood, you know, my stepfather was extremely homophobic, very racist. Just all the isms, like very misogynistic, like just like, you know, not a good person. So my first relationship was with a guy who, it was my very first relationship. I was like 19, and very quickly into like our relationship, we discovered that he wanted to be trans. And honestly, I was kind of stoked about it because I was like, oh, I like women anyway, so it's like perfect. And at that time, like when I was living in the house, like with my mother and her husband, I thought I was lesbian. And I know that it was because my stepfather was the only example of a man that I had. And I just knew that whatever that was, I didn't want that. So I was like, okay, I must be lesbian. And when I met this guy, it was just something like, it was like the skies parted and I was like, it was like the universe was like, oh, this is your person. And I was just, you know, I was just like obsessed.
And is this the first person that you explored sexually with?
Yeah.
Since leaving the family?
Absolutely.
Was that shame ridden for you, or like how did exploring sex look for you?
So we didn't have sex actually until after 2 months after he proposed to me. So he proposed to me. So we were dating for like 3 months, and then he proposed to me on New Year's, and we actually had sex February 15th.
Okay.
It was the day after Valentine's Day. I remember that.
Romantic. Yeah. Okay, so that was when you lost your virginity, your first time having sex.
Yep. And it was interesting. I threw up because it was like, oof. Yeah, I didn't know what was happening. It hurt a lot. I remember that. And then it was so intense, I literally threw up.
Wow. Well, I mean, maybe it was like some emotional purging or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, I still haven't like unpacked that. So I don't really know why that happened. And then, you know, and then when that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, like, is this what everyone has been talking about? Like, is this what sex is? And despite like that, you know, interaction, I was hooked. And then we started exploring, and that was actually the first time that was the first time I ever fisted someone. I fisted him. Yeah.
On your first time?
No, not first time.
As you explored with someone. Or
with him. Yeah. I think like,
can't say I've done that yet.
Yeah, it was for someone who, I didn't even know what a penis looked like actually until I met him. So like,
I mean, you were in an extremely confined, just your entire life.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were homeschooled, right? So, I mean, you weren't getting, not that sex ed is really anything in
there was zero sex
either,
ed.
But I mean, it must have been really, curious for you, and also probably just bizarre. I don't know.
No, it totally was. I mean, I wish I had the vocabulary to describe like what it was, but what really excited me was, you know, he liked anal, and I realized like it because
he liked anal play on him.
Yes, and you know, growing up like hearing like gay, like blah blah, you know, I never really felt that way. So for me, it was very exciting. And so we definitely did it was me. I think that's when I discovered that I really liked pegging.
Fun.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to try.
Oh, you haven't tried it yet?
No. I just the way she lit up. No, I just started exploring my dominant side, and I need to make my sub buy me the setup. But
oh my God. It is life-changing.
Taking your power back vibes, or
it's not even
I feel like it feels very powerful.
Like, it's powerful, and I have an ass fetish. Like, I don't know what it is. I love ass. Like, I love
men, women.
Yes.
Okay. I'm like, man, ass is. I don't know.
But I like it for different reasons. I feel like like there's like a round ass, which I associate with women, and then there's like a flat ass, which I associate with guys.
Yeah.
I like them both, but for very different reasons. Like, I'm kind of a perf. Like,
same girl. That's why we're all on this podcast.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. I love it. But there's something about pegging. Like, I've never pegged a girl. I've only pegged guys.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I would love to peg a girl. Yeah, I've only pegged guys, and there's just something about like
fucking a guy.
I love it. I love it.
Great.
And it's so funny because like I identify as a switch, but I lean more towards like submissive.
Sure.
I like things to be done to me, but like there's just something about
definitely
being I love it.
She's getting excited. Yeah, I mean, in my like future long-term partnership, I want it to be more of like a long-term dom sub dynamic where I'm submissive, because at the end of the day, like I want daddy energy, somebody tell me what to do that I trust, blah 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 blah. But I've been loving exploring both sides of it, because I just really feel like I'm reclaiming my power. We were talking about this last night on the drive. Like, it's just given me such empathy for men, like dating and exploring with submissive men. It's just been very different, a different subset of people, and given me hope. So yeah.
No, I love that for you. I have yet to explore truly submissive men. I mean, when I first
if they like getting pegged, I mean,
I don't know. It's interesting because like
maybe not.
I feel like there's some sort of like interesting like separation. I wouldn't describe these guys that I've pegged to be submissive.
Okay.
I've always been the one to be like, want to try this? And like, who could say no to this face, right? Like,
just the curiosity. Yeah. Well, and I've just been talking about it a little bit. Like, I just think men should be doing way more butt and prostate play.
No. Oh my God.
I've never witnessed a prostate orgasm until recently when I was playing with my submissive. I'm turning into such a dom. I had him tied up to my bed with restraints. And butt plug in and vibrator on him. And like the orgasm that ensued was like, I've never seen anything like it. And it's so hot. Like, I definitely feel very pleasure dom, mommy dom vibes. And just to like give him that pleasure. But also it stemmed from there being anal play involved. So
sure.
I'm probably say it on every podcast
there for a reason.
now. Yes, it is. Yeah.
So what do you guys do after? Like,
I mean, there was a bunch of build up to that. And like my intention with like aftercare is just like cuddles. Like just cuddle him. Yeah.
That. I think aftercare is so important.
It is. Yep. Because a lot can come up for people emotionally after they have that release. It's kind of like, that's when you have that weird vibe after you like realize you're watching weird porn. It's like that, oh, what the fuck? So it's like to help ease somebody through that is important.
Oh, I love that so much. I have yet to explore that.
Yeah. So you definitely explore like the kink scene, it sounds like, in LA, and go to play parties and stuff like that. How has that journey looked for you?
Oh my God. I went to my very first real one 2021, I think, at the beginning of 2021.
It leaves such an imprint, the first party. Tell me about yours.
My life.
Yeah.
So how I got into it, actually, I was on Bumble.
Where all the magic happens, apparently.
And I matched with this guy, and we wanted to date, and then we were talking, and he was like, yeah, so me and my partner, he has like a friend who also is like involved too, and he was like, yeah, me and my friend, like, we have like this private members club. And he told me about it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in. Yeah. I've always been
members
like,
only sex club. Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, wow, the universe is like totally looking out for me, because I've always been super interested in it, but I didn't know.
How do you have to, people always ask how to find these things. You have to just like be patient because like it's literally took me a very long time to like meet the person and then like tomorrow I'm going to like a kink shibari like workshop event thing, and it's like, but it took me a long time to meet the right people. So don't expect these people will fall into your lap eventually.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you'd be surprised. I think there are way more kinky people than we realize. And
they
just
don't necessarily want to talk about it on a podcast. But everyone's fucking kinky.
Yes.
Maybe they might not act it out. Their minds are. They're thinking about it. They're watching it. Yeah.
I love that. And what I think is so great too is like, I think it's finally now becoming more mainstream, which I think is fantastic.
Totally.
Oh my gosh. I think it could save lives even, to be honest with you. I think
there's a lot of shame associated with kinks, especially if they're fetishes or they're more extreme. I mean, I think it just brings up a lot of, shame for people, I would say is the main word. And so for them to understand that there are outlets or that there are to understand that there might be somebody that wanting to participate in that kink or fetish with them, like actually, it's their kink to give that thing. It's my kink to receive that thing. Like that can be really healing for people.
Oh yeah. Would this be your first one?
What?
First like play party or like
shibari? No. I've been to a bunch, or I've been to a good amount now. I just meant it took me a long time to like find the people that would ever even invite me to these kinds of things. So go back to your first one. They invited you to the members only club.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my first one, I was a little nervous at first because you go in, it was at this beautiful mansion in the hills, I believe. Oh my gosh,
as they do in LA. I fucking sometimes miss it, but
oh, it was so nice. And then like I go in and like, there's the security guard there, and it just felt very like official. I walk in, it's this beautiful place, there's music playing, there's like, this beautiful hostess that's here to greet me, and I walk in and I showed up a little bit late, probably like 2 hours in, so there were already people kind of like they weren't necessarily like, they were naked people. They weren't like doing anything really. I found later that it's not until like probably a couple hours before the event's over is when people really start to kind of like explore and play.
Yeah.
But yeah, going in, I was like, oh my God, like everyone's so hot. Just beautiful people everywhere. The music was sexy. There was just like, everyone was sexy. And I ended up talking to this couple, and they were both very hot. I ended up hooking up with their husband and wife. I ended up hooking up with the husband.
Hot.
And while I was like hooking up with him, like I was making out with her, and it was just like this
sexy,
beautiful, like little, not, I wouldn't say it wasn't quite a threesome, but it was like,
playing
in the area. And it was great. And then I actually ended up hooking up with the guy that invited, the one that had like him and his partner, the one I went on a date with, who I guess like was sort of like managing the event. So I hooked up with him that same night, and it was great. And it changed, quite literally changed my life. And I was like, okay, like I said, I've always been very interested in kink and shibari and like watching like
I'm a big voyeur.
Oh my God,
I'm such a voyeur. I mean, that's like, my life was also changed and unlocked by my first play party, and it's just realizing that it exists out there. And it also takes away that feeling alone in the kink and the shame. It's like, oh no, there's a bunch of people that want to play and explore and watch and be watched, and like there's somebody out there for every kink, everything. And yours sounds really epic, like out of a movie.
Oh man. I mean, they just kept getting better and better after that.
Wow.
I'm now a member of 5 different
Love it.
I go to 5 different private clubs.
Amazing.
And it sucks I can't go to all of them at the same time because they all like happen at the same time.
Come on, guys.
So it's like I have to like choose like which one I'm gonna go to.
Which epic sex party should I go to?
Oh man, I got a list. Great. I'll send it to you.
I can't wait.
Oh my gosh. It was amazing. And then that's actually like had an impact on what I wanted to do for my business. And so I started incorporating like BDSM accessories like into my brand, because initially it was just lingerie.
Okay.
And when I went to that party, I was like, you know what? I should include other things. And so I did. And then I really started to get into it. And then that's actually when I met my first real dom.
Okay.
I actually met him online.
Bumble?
And no, it was actually a sugar dating website.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Love to talk about that.
Yes. So yeah, I have actually been
Seeking arrangements.
Seeking arrangement. Yes.
The girls always ask me like what the website is. I'm like, that's the only one. Don't go neat. Just yeah.
Yeah. Seeking arrangement. I've literally been on there for I think like since I think right after my first boyfriend and I like broke up.
It's a great side hustle.
Yeah. Ladies. And it was just amazing. Like I actually first heard about it when I worked at Nordstrom and like all the girls were on it. And I was like, wait a minute, like guys pay? Like they take you out on dates and stuff? Because that was the thing too. My ex had never taken me out on a date. We were engaged and he has never taken me out ever. Like ever. Like, I mean, granted we were poor and but he never like made any romantic effort whatsoever.
Oh my gosh. The guys that I've gone on dates with from Seeking, literally the most kind, romantic, gentlemanly, open my door. Literally, I went on a date the other day and I was like, I like wanted to tell the guy, like, are you going to open my fucking door for me? Like, come on, where's the
I literally stand there and I look at the door and I look at them and they're like, what? And I'm like, aren't you going to open my door?
All the guys on Seeking?
Most you don't have to ask.
Yeah, just gentlemanly. And you think it would be different. You think you would be like, or the judgments that I might hear will be like that you're sexualized or whatever, but it's been fucking great for me.
I know. And honestly, I can't go back to like vanilla dating because like I'm not gonna say the worst I've ever been treated was by men I was actually in a relationship with or like men I've met on regular dating sites.
Yeah.
I've always been treated very, very well by the men from Seeking Arrangement.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's I think it just depends on the vibe too. Because I know that there are girls that don't have, or people who are on that site don't have great experiences.
Yeah, totally. We don't want to speak. Those are just, our personal experiences.
So, and I'm not trying to like, I'm not saying like, oh, go on that website, go be sugar baby. I think it definitely takes a particular kind of person.
Yes.
Luckily for me, I've always had great experiences. And so like you have too. But I gotta say, I don't know if that's like a normal
universal
thing.
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, and you still want to be really careful. Yeah, no matter what, you want to. I've given tips before, like you want to get coffee in a public place first. Don't have sex right away. Like
you don't know these people.
No, you don't. You don't. Okay, so you met somebody on there and you explored like a dom sub dynamic.
Yeah.
Was it like daddy dom vibes? Yeah.
Yeah. It was magical. That was actually one of the first times I realized like maybe I'm not a dom. Like that's when I
thought you were kind of.
I thought I was, and not even just like hardcore dom. Like I never saw myself as a person receiving pleasure. I have never had anyone, even though I've been on those sites. It's always like I came in with a goal in mind. I was like, okay, this is who I am. Like I had this whole persona, and I thought that I was the one that would like bring pleasure to others. I've never experienced someone saying, what do you like?
It sounds like maybe you didn't feel like you deserved it.
I didn't. And a lot of that came from people pleasing.
Well, and a very traumatic childhood. Yeah. I mean, it's taken me a few years, 2 years of exploring kink and dozens of partners to literally be like, okay, before you come, I'm going to get my vibrator and I'm going to come. Ooh. Like, and not even necessarily coming from it in a dominant way of just like, but my pleasure is equal to yours. I'm deserving of an orgasm as you are. And women, that is not what we see in the movies. No. What we see is the dick goes in and we're having orgasms and like, that's not how it goes. And we also see that the scene is done when the man comes. And so we're never given a guidebook that our pleasure is important as women really, or a guide for how to advocate for it. And so when was it that you had your first orgasm? It was
29, either 29 or 30.
Okay. So
it was with him.
We just need a mic drop moment here for that. You started having sex at 19. You did not have your first orgasm until 10 years later.
Yeah.
And that is separate from you, not feeling worthy or not prioritizing your pleasure. That is about like, just a massive societal thing where male partners are generally just not in my opinion, focusing enough energy or time there. And what I see happen too a lot in the bedroom is guys will be kind of gung-ho about providing an orgasm until they're really horny. Yeah. And then it's like, nope, it's about their orgasm. So
I think at that time, I didn't even know what an orgasm was.
Sure.
Like, I knew what it looked like for men.
Right.
But I didn't know what that looked like for
right. And I think a lot of women can kind of think like, oh, I'm coming. Like, I think I'm coming. I think I thought that because I started having sex at 16. I didn't have my first orgasm until like 19, 20. Had it solo by myself with a toy. And I was like, ooh, that's what the fucking orgasm is. Yeah. Like, holy shit. And
did you cry?
No, but I was like, holy fuck. And then I did it every time my roommate left forever. I was like, all right, she's gone.
Yeah. Wait, it was with a woman?
No, with the toy.
Oh, toy. Oh, toy.
Yeah. I was like, no, haven't done that yet. Okay, wait. So yeah, I just needed to process that for a moment, that it was 10 years later. Jesus Christ. I recently squirted for the first time and it was a lot of fluid. I was surprised. I squirted like 5 times in a row the first time I did it and everything was drenched. I spent the entire next day doing multiple loads of laundry, and as excited as I was to have squirted for the first time, I also realized that I needed a solution for the problem at hand. So I am so excited to be working with Splash Blanket. They create incredible waterproof blankets. They can be used for squirting, for sex in general. They absorb up to 1 liter of liquid. I just use mine as a cozy blanket. They are extremely diverse and I absolutely love them. So go to splashblanket.us and use code SEGGS, SEGGS, for 15% off of your entire order. If you know me and you watch the podcast, you know that I like watching porn for my self-pleasure rituals. One of my favorite websites to go to is exoafterglow.com. What I have found with mainstream porn is that a lot of it is created for the male gaze. It's a lot about the man's pleasure, and it just doesn't feel super authentic and connected. What I really love about Afterglow is that it is for everyone, and it is founded by a woman. I've actually had the pleasure of working with her here in Austin, and I love their mission. You can also find educational porn on their website called EduPorn, and there is just so much to learn and watch there. So go to exoafterglow.com and use code EXOTHEA. Google where the clit is, Google where the G-spot is, lots of Googling, keep watching my show. All right, so this Dom, tell me what that looked like. So you started feeling like he was really committed to giving you pleasure, providing you orgasms, and you started feeling more submissive.
Yeah, and I did cry. It was like I was just like in bed and I was like,
holy
what the fuck was that? Like it was insane.
Was it at like a G-spot or clitoral, or do you know where the sensation was? I don't know how to explain it.
I would say clitoral for sure. Because I squirted. Yeah, and oh my gosh. So I totally forgot about this. So the very first time I ever squirted, and I know that is technically an orgasm, but it's
not. We were just talking about this on the last, or I was talking about this earlier with somebody I was filming with. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'll explain what I know after you're done.
So the very first time I squirted, it was with this guy this was like years ago.
It wasn't the pleasure dom?
No.
Oh, okay.
This was when I was like looking for a dom. So after my ex and I broke up, I went online. I was like, okay, I need something. So I went online. I met this guy who said he was a dom.
Oof, be careful with that.
Yeah.
Friends.
I didn't know what a dom really was. In my mind, I thought it was just like someone who's like really dominant in the bedroom. So we go to coffee. He's very intense, like very like smoldering, like the eyes, like everything. I was like, ooh, yeah. So we went out to coffee a couple times, and then I finally invited him over. And he dropped his pants, and I was like, it was and listen, all sizes matter. It really doesn't matter about sizes.
Where's this going? Wait, but hold on. Did he drop his pants like non-consensual, like just like bam?
Did. Yeah. No, it was consensual.
Okay,
yeah, for
like,
sure.
Okay, things were getting steamy. Okay,
yeah.
The way you said it made it sound like it was just
because I'm having a flashback.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah.
Right.
He
we wanted the pants to be dropped.
We wanted I was ready. I was like, yes. Great. Super into it. And well, he had a micro penis, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that. So I had never seen one before. I've heard of it. I've never seen it in person. And he's like, he tells me to get on top, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I thought you were a dom. Like, this is what I'm thinking in my brain. I'm thinking like this guy's gonna like take charge, right? No, he's making me do all the work.
Okay.
I'm on top of him.
Wait, this is the first guy to make you squirt?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, oh my God. It was like,
for anybody that's insecure about their size, don't worry.
Yes.
You can please us in other ways.
Oh man. Because I think it had to have been like that.
I just squirted for the first time 3 weeks ago, by the way.
3
Those are squirt blankets over there. We were recording ads with them earlier. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I got a sponsor out of it, baby.
I love that for you. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm new to the game. It's fun.
Isn't it amazing?
Okay, but not from the sex you were having with this guy. Afterwards, or he brought his fingers
during
with the micro penis?
Yeah. So I'm like writing him.
Okay.
And I'm so annoyed. In my mind, I'm like, I can't fucking believe I'm here. Like, why is he making me be on top of him? Like I've made a huge mistake. And something was happening, and I was like, what's going on? I thought I had to pee.
Sure.
But I was like, it didn't feel like that.
It's like a whole new sensation.
Yeah.
Squirting is a whole new thing.
Oh my God. Yeah. And then it just happened. And I got up. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know what happened.
On him?
Yeah. And I was like freaking out. I was so embarrassed. And he just was like looking at me, like smiling like this.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
But I'm confused. But with the micro penis?
I know.
You're sure the fingers weren't?
There were no fingers involved.
I'm fascinated.
He was literally on his back.
All right.
And like his hand. Yeah. It was
sounds like a God thing.
It was his equipment.
All right.
Yeah. And I was like, I was so embarrassed. And he was just like,
yeah, he's like, that's not what that was.
Yeah. He was very proud of himself. And I didn't really know what was happening at the time. I was like, oh, I never done this.
Same.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's weird. So what I was chatting with a friend about earlier today is squirting. Just squirting doesn't always equal an orgasm. Squirting comes from stimulation generally of the A spot, which is past the G spot. And so oftentimes there can be an orgasm with the squirting because you've got the G spot and the A spot that releases the female ejaculate. So like basically often there can be, I think, a combined, an orgasm and a squirting. For me, it wasn't a full orgasm. It was just like a release, like just like a whoosh. Well,
That's
literally
what I was feeling. Yeah.
It was this big release, and it felt like I felt like that post high from sex or from an orgasm from squirting, but I didn't feel like, ooh, I just had an intense orgasm. So they're kind of separate. And I think they can just exist differently.
And you're totally right. And I think that's why I separate that with my
first orgasm.
Dom. Yeah. Because it wasn't a buildup. It just like happened.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally got off topic there.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the first time I
penis squirting.
Yep.
and then
this
Dom,
guy
orgasm.
Yeah. Okay. So I squirted. It was a combination. It was like fingers and then also like, his equipment. And it was just it was very magical.
But wait, so are we talking about, so now to fast forward to Dom guy, is that what you're talking about for first orgasm?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I also find that power dynamics can be addictive and attachment-y.
Yeah.
So there's 3 layers here. There's power dynamics, there's sometimes money if it's a seeking arrangements thing where that can create like an attachment. And then I don't know, this is kind of just third thing I'm throwing in there. Older men, that can just be the daddy wound attachment thing too. So I don't know, just a warning that those 3 things together can be a big attachment.
Oh yeah. And I had all 3. So like, yeah, I think money probably less for me. I think the money definitely in my mind kept things a little bit more
boundaried.
Yeah, because
I like that too.
It kind of didn't really work though, because I kind of I had limerence. I was experiencing major limerence with him because
I've researched that. Let's explain what that is for anybody that doesn't know.
Oh yeah, so
kind of like infatuation.
Yeah, infatuation. like extreme. It's like you can have a crush on somebody,
right?
But then it's like the extreme where you start
I get
to imagine
that.
a life with someone, and you can't stop thinking about them. Like they text you your whole days.
Me for 2 weeks with guys, and then it's whoop gone.
Yeah. See, I just now got over that. Unfortunately for me, like especially when I was younger, it would last for years.
Oh wow!
I would have limerence with someone who clearly did not give a fuck about me at all.
Yeah,
but I would
still
just
stay kind of obsessive.
Yeah.
I will say also, just kind of like a sugar dating warning thing, is that because there is this with the money, there is an inherent power dynamic, and with that inherent power dynamic, feelings can happen when they might not normally. And so I actually stopped. Like I don't have an account anymore because, like, for me, I found that the money, the guy in a position of power, like there ended up being a lot of connection usually for me, like kind of falling for these guys. And oftentimes they didn't have the emotional availability for a relationship. And so it felt like it was kind of this stuck cycle of like me developing feelings, because it is the archetype of the guy I want to be with. Successful, older, stable, grounded. Like it was this archetype that I liked, but they often were fresh out of a divorce or whatever it may be. And it wasn't, I was ending up with my feelings hurt and my heart hurt.
That's so interesting.
Guy. Yeah.
So every sugar daddy that I've ever had, I have definitely like have grown to like care and even like love them to a certain degree. But I never felt that they had like power over me. I felt like you're doing what you're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to be
an exchange
taking care of me. Yeah. I never saw them as like being of a higher, yes, they are financially more stable than I am.
More so, it's just like there's this power dynamic at play with a financial exchange where it can feel a little vulnerable. It can open up, I don't know how to explain it, open up the gates for there to be feelings to be developed because of this. It's kind of hot. It's kind of naughty. Like for me, I totally get off on that. And I don't know how to explain it. There's something there where I just found myself developing feelings. So
no, I totally get that. Yeah. I mean, I guess like in a lot of ways too. Yeah, I definitely would. But a lot of time, I knew though that these guys were like unavailable. A lot of them had other commitments.
Yeah.
So. But like with this guy in particular, I think because he gave me my first like orgasm, and then there was like that power dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really was like, oh my God.
And he wanted to please you. It sounds like that.
Yeah.
That's when we were starting to explore.
Never had that before.
Wow. I can't believe that. And so what kind of things did you explore BDSM wise? Were you in like a 24/7 kind of dynamic or?
No. So our second date was when we really kind of explored. I really got into like playing with the crops, whipping.
You doing that to him or him doing that to you?
Him doing it to me, yeah. And pretty much the whole thing, and like pain tolerance and things like that. And it's so side note, and this might be a little extreme. I was afraid to get like whipped because of my childhood. Like my stepfather used to whip me. And so I was like really afraid to explore that because I was like, oh, what if I have like flashbacks or like what if it triggers
re-traumatizing?
Yeah. And so, you know, I told him about this and he was very understanding. And we tried it and we did it. And, you know, he had a belt and he was whipping me, and I actually did not have there were no flashbacks. I didn't associate that with my childhood. And I actually really liked it. I was like afraid that I wouldn't, but I really liked it.
Yeah. I think something that I've learned with kink exploration is that the kind of pattern that I've seen with guests and stuff is it's like when you can revisit something, an energy, a specific act that's potentially triggering, and you can revisit in a place where you know you're safe on like a fight or flight level, it can turn into pleasure and you can actually heal that thing. So I have a lot of trauma around getting in trouble. And so for me, playing around with like being the naughty girl, or you've been a good girl, or like playing around with some of the dirty talk around that can really help me with some inner child healing.
Yes.
Whereas in your situation, it was a previously traumatic thing, but then you get to explore it in a safe, controlled way. You know he's not going to hurt you. You know he's not evil, yucky, narcissist cult leader. And so it can turn into a beautiful thing. And so like proceed with caution for anybody new, but also like there is this thing that I'm starting to understand with kink that's this cycle, this healing cycle.
Oh my God. I know. And I love that you say that too, because it was kink in general has healed me in the most ironic way. Like I never thought in a million years that I would be healed from being tied up and being whipped and and all these things.
Wow.
And I actually found my own power in that way. Like it changed me. Like it made me like, okay, I do have autonomy over my pleasure. I started to learn boundaries. Whereas before, I never had boundaries. I allowed things to happen to me.
It was never modeled for you that you could, though. Your mom, if your mom didn't stand up and have any, then you'd never seen a boundary be set by a woman.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
So it was kink and BDSM started helping you say, oh, I don't like that. Yeah. Oh, I want to set. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I also like, you know, with having people pleasing issues and things like that, kink has literally changed my life. And that's actually why I decided like, oh, like maybe I should start teaching and like really encouraging and educating and empowering people to explore their kinky side, because I can't even imagine how many people who are just like me who are still probably going through the same thing, you know, and still have this untapped like, you know, kinky energy that is just waiting to be unleashed. And
yes,
I hope that, you know, with my brand, I hope that, you know, like with me teaching and becoming a somatic sexologist, that I can empower people to do the same. And I think, you know, it's like raising the vibration of the universe. Like everyone deserves to feel pleasure. Like it doesn't matter like what ethnicity, what gender you identify as, everyone deserves, you know, pleasure. And I just think that there's so much like suppression, you know, in my case, and I think with a lot of other people. Yeah. Kink has, it changed my life.
Same. I mean, the way that you explain the untapped kinky energy and like put your hand here, like I relate to that. It just, and almost every guest that I've had on, we've all had this funny commonality of like remembering being kind of horny as kids and being really young, and like it just automatically this being this bad thing that you should hide, you should push away, save it for when you're an adult. And instantly there's this theme and pattern of shame around these desires. And, you know, for me, my sexuality for a really long time in my early 20s looked like hidden secrecy. I would sleep with these people but not tell my friends. It was like this secret naughty thing. And kink has allowed me to kind of step into it, and also now step into it publicly of like a part of my identity. And I'm so much more than kink, and I'm so much more than sex, but it's a huge part of my life. And it's also, I've realized, a non-negotiable. I went on a date recently with somebody that really hasn't explored kink, and I just got this final pin in it of clarity that I need somebody that's already been on that journey, or at least very eager and curious. Yeah.
No, I totally get that. I mean, it's a completely different dynamic when you're going out with someone who is too afraid to explore that, because if you're too afraid to explore your own sexuality, I think that affects different areas in your life. It's like, oh, you know, maybe this person doesn't necessarily like, they don't negotiate in different areas. Do you know what I mean? Like, or they don't compromise.
Well, there's this whole other chunk of work that they have to do before they can even get to unlocking their kink and their sexuality. They have to get to just the acceptance of those desires and stuff. Yeah.
And, you know, and I will say, I think that society is to blame for this. The whole like, you know, normative culture. And I don't know. I just think that like, if kink and just acceptance of just the broad sort of, or, you know, spectrum of sexuality was more of a mainstream thing, I think that people would be less shamed. And it's interesting too, because like I've always been very promiscuous. I love sex. I love it.
Let's reclaim the word slut. That's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Let's reclaim it.
No, I think it's like
a fun word.
Actually, I think I forgot what I tattooed. I tattooed. Is it slut? Am I
Do you not know what's on your?
I know. I forgot. I did it like years ago. I think it's slut. Cunt. Yeah.
Cunt is what is tattooed on your inner lip.
Ridiculous. I literally forgot. I literally did this in the mirror like 3 years ago. Yes.
How long have you been tattooing?
Almost 4 years.
4. Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I cut you off there. What were you talking about?
No, you're totally fine.
You've always been promiscuous.
Oh yeah. So slut is actually like one of my favorite words. Slut and cunt.
I like slut. I just don't think like there's just so much work we have to do against the patriarchy in terms of like the societal thing that the more partners a woman has, her value goes down. Something becomes wrong with her pussy. Like it's just fucking ridiculous.
It really is.
Nothing happens to a guy's dick. Like nothing happens to either. You know.
Oh yeah. I agree.
Get tested. Have sex. The more sex you have, the better you're at it.
Yeah. Practice makes perfect. I mean, I don't know if anyone can be like perfect at sex, but it's like, I don't know, like even when you think about like even back then, like I think like courtesans and
yes.
I guess like back then the sluts, they were definitely considered like high regard, worshipped even.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like it's just so unfortunate to see like, you know, to be born where it's like you see the decline of that sort of way of thinking.
Yeah, they were seen as like an important part of society.
Oh,
that there was sex, and then there was sex work, and there was very different. And I mean, you and I were chatting about this last night about how sex workers in a lot of different cultures all over the world, you know, hundreds of years ago, were really seen very differently.
It's the oldest profession, like, in the world, yeah. And rightfully so. I think it's, you know, I think for the first time ever, even though I do it and I'm semi-open about it, I am a sex worker. And I love it. And it's helped me heal a lot as a person. It's changed how I see myself. It's changed so many different areas of my life, like not just sexually, but just like socially. And yeah.
I want to go back to something we were talking about with, you know, sex and kink and BDSM being more mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
I think something that would have been helpful for me to hear, even just a year ago or even 2 years ago, is just that sex and kink does not look a certain way, or not sex, BDSM and kink does not look a certain way.
Yeah.
Because the way that the media portrays it, and often porn too, is a lot of like leather, a lot of latex, a lot of dungeons. You've got this like more hardcore extreme BDSM niche, which totally exists. And I've been to parties like that, and I have friends that are in that scene, and there's nothing wrong with that scene. I just want people to know that there is so much more out there, and there is every breed and genre. I mean, if I had seen more like soft mommy doms on Instagram, I would have found this identity for myself years ago. But all I had seen was women in latex, like whipping men, and I'm like, that's not authentic for me. I'm not a dom. That I don't want to do that. I'm not a dom. But it took me following a couple people to realize, oh, power dynamics, BDSM, kink, it can look so many different ways, and like that I needed those people to give me permission. Shout out Dasha, she's amazing mommy dom that I found and I'm now friends with, where I was just like, oh, there's this like, there's all these different ways you can go about this. Yeah. And so I think just to give permission to anybody listening or watching that it doesn't have to look a certain way. And however niche you think you are, it doesn't, like, you can create your own world.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for saying that too. I think that was something that I struggled with too, getting into the
Where do
scene.
I belong? Where do I belong?
Yeah. I never felt like I belonged in, like, to be honest with you, like when I went to that very first like sex party, I saw all kinds of people, and I think for the first time I was like, okay, like this is there's just so many different types, and it's just such a broad thing. And had I known that sooner, I think I probably would have like made more efforts to pursue that. But knowing that, you know, it doesn't have to, like you said, it doesn't have to look one specific way. It's not hardcore. And a lot of people think like, oh, if you're into BDSM, you must have like childhood trauma and like all these things, right? And that's like a huge myth. I think for me, it's really all about power dynamics. And I think like what I love about being dommed is that I feel like I'm a dom just in general, like just in life. Like I support myself, I have my own business,
moving.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I kind of am not into it. Like I don't want to be doing this. Like I like to do things like leisurely. I don't like to do things because I have to. Like I don't like hustling. This is just not my thing.
You've got a little bit of like fairy energy. Like I could see you in your dream life. You're like ferrying your way through your businesses.
Oh my God. Yes. Like it's my dream to literally have people. I would love to hire people to just take care of the things like, you know, like have someone do my social media, have someone like do all these little things. I don't like to hustle. I have hustled my entire life since I was 7 years old.
You want softness.
Yes. Soft life. Like I don't like to do it. And so when I'm with my dom, it's like I can literally be brain dead and I fucking love it. Like I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to have to make decisions.
That's also our neurospiciness.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're on the spectrum, ADHD. Like we have so much going on in our little minds.
Yes.
That if we are with somebody, and I always say this, where trust is involved, where we can fully fucking let go and surrender. And like, I mean, it's not quite free use, I would say. I don't like free, but I'm like very much just like kind of just want to lay there and be fucked over and over and over again. Which is what I found with this recent guy, the guy who made me squirt. Like just, I don't want to do a fucking damn thing.
Yes.
And you know, another note to like people thinking that something, you know, is wrong about having a high body count or whatever, sleeping around. The sex that I have with this guy who is kinky, kinky, has a fet life. He's been doing this stuff for years. Like we're both just very fucking kinky and very experienced with many partners. Best sex I've ever had. So that's what happens when two fucking kinky, experienced, slutty people get together.
I love that. And I bet the chemistry is just like off the charts.
It's fun. Well, and it's cool because in the past, I've always found that I end up developing feelings or limerence or attachments. Whereas right now I have a dominant partner and a submissive partner. Love it. And I don't feel like I have a romantic feelings for either of them, like, which is a cool thing to actually be able to say that. It's cool.
That's healthy.
I love that. We're healthy.
Yes.
That's what that is.
That's so healthy.
Because been through a lot of unhealthy shit to get here.
I totally resonate with that.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's the thing too. It's like, I think a lot of people do tend to, and myself included, will attach. It's like, oh, if I'm sleeping with this person, then I have to have feelings for them, or you know, all these things.
Or sometimes just biologically can happen.
Yeah,
it can just happen without us wanting it to. So do you have a dom partner right now, or you're kind of chilling, right?
Yeah. The thing is, like, so since I've been doing the work and like becoming more like understanding. Okay, I do have anxious attachment issues, so I've like worked on that.
High five.
Thank you.
Anxious Libras.
Yes, always. So I worked on that, and then I also like started to realize like also learning that I have boundaries and I am exercising my voice and my choice, which is something, you know, I never had before. And so that changes just the dynamics of dating. And so now it's like I have such little patience for anything that violates that. And so dating is very difficult. I almost never get asked out.
You were saying that, which is crazy.
Yeah. And so that's why like last night was so fun, because it's like, you know, I was like, oh yes. Cause you know, also being single, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But sometimes like you kind of need.
Or sometimes I start to worry that I'm like not gonna be able to be in a long-term partnership. Like, am I wrong? And then, it's refreshing to get hit on sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're approachable. Great. The only thing I will say, we were talking a little bit about this, was that this really hot guy that I slept with for a little while, covered in tattoos, such a sweetheart, such a softie. He's a tattoo artist. Told me the same thing. I never get hit on. I would always tell him, what the fuck? Like, you're literally so fucking hot. But I think that people just maybe find it intimidating when it's like, he would just tell me the exact same thing. I never get hit on. I'm like, how? By your clients? You're tattooing people? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think because I've been tattooed
because you're
for
gorgeous.
10 years.
You're gorgeous.
Thank you. I think because I've been tattooed for so long, it's hard for me to like see it from that side. I think tattoos are cool. Like when I see other tattoo people, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yes.
But I can see how it would be intimidating. But yeah, it kind of sucks, to be honest.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, the fact that you don't get it on blows my mind. But I also just think that men don't know how to approach hitting on women anymore. I think that they don't want to offend or freak women out or make us uncomfortable, which I respect. Thank you. Thank you for not being super creepy at the grocery store or wherever it may be. But also, like, I want to get hit on sometimes.
Today's episode of Sex Talk Radio is sponsored by the HUD app. HUD offers an alternative approach to commitment-free dating and is geared towards supporting women in exploring their sexuality and intimacy in a safe way through conversations around consent, healthy communication, and boundary setting. HUD was the first to roll out safety features like auto-blur photos and video chat capabilities. I've been using the app for a little while now, and personally, my favorite feature is the bedroom feature, where I can see a glimpse into somebody's bedroom desires. So for example, it will literally say Thea's bedroom, and then BDSM, bondage, dirty talk, impact play, etc., which makes it that much easier to assess your sexual compatibility with someone. HUD is really future forward in how they're evolving their app, and I'm excited to continue using it for casual dating. Go to hudapp.com/sextalk, that's hudapp.com/SEGGS talk for a week on me. A quick note, the HUD app is available for both iOS and Android and is available to users over 18.
Yeah. But what I've learned is that I have to be the initiator, even if it's like you did last night, eye contact or saying fucking hello.
Yeah.
Saying hello opens up a dialogue at the grocery store. I don't know. Grocery store is always my example because I see a lot of hot guys there and I wish they'd fucking hit on me.
Oh, which
shout out Whole Foods. I mean, I can't really afford Whole Foods. I shop at H-E-B, but like when I'll get cute to go to Whole Foods to hopefully get hit on. And, all I will say is that just saying hi or smiling is all the permission a guy needs in general to say, okay, this is a safe space for me to open up a dialogue. Yeah. Whereas if you're just like a lot of women just have resting bitch face. So like they don't.
Yeah, I just realized
we don't realize that we're giving resting bitch face. Mm-hmm. And then we wonder why guys don't hit on us. But yeah. Anyways, smile
Someone
more.
took a photo of me and I saw myself just like whatever. And I looked at I was like, damn, I look fucking mean. Like, no wonder, you know what I mean? Like, so I've been definitely trying to like make a major effort to make sure I don't have a resting bitch face and just like smile, like always just like, to look approachable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So last night, did you smiled at him and then he actually came over to you? Or-
yeah. So he was like I was sitting behind him and he turned around and I hate making eye because it's like, I get so like, you know.
I do the same. Intimacy. Ugh.
Yeah. So I looked at him for 2 seconds, which was an eternity for me. And he came over. He was like, "Oh, can you get a drink?" I was like, "Sure." And yeah, I
love that. You manifested that right after telling me you never get hit on.
Yeah. I love that.
Girl.
Thank you, universe.
Yeah. I love it. So what are you learning in your program about somatic sexology? That sounds like somatics is, exploration of the body, and I'd love to learn more about what you're learning.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, somatic means body. So when people say like, oh, what's the difference between a sex therapist and a somatic? Therapists mainly deal with like psychological things. And then for somatic, it's more of a holistic view. Like we look at the body, how trauma is stored in our bodies. And so that affects how we experience life, sex with ourselves. Yeah. And so we really just empower people to become more aware and more connected with themselves. So I had just finished the first half of my course.
Cool.
Super excited.
Yeah.
And one of the chapters that I was reading that really stood out to me was the chapter on shame. And not just sexual shame, but just shame in general. Like
right. Well, somatics is the body, how things are stored. Yeah, just that emotion.
Yeah. And it was something I never really thought about until like after reading that chapter. And I was like, oh my God, so much of my life has been sort of based around fear and shame. Like even everything from what I post, like when I think to myself like, oh, I do have a lot of shame. Like I've had a lot of shame in my sexuality. I've had a lot of shame and just like me being a creator and like not wanting to post a lot of my art because it's like, oh, like what if people don't like it? Or like what if I'm annoying, perceived as annoying and all these things, right? And shame, from what I learned, starts with fear. And then that fear starts with, it could start from childhood trauma, like being told you're not good enough or having a parent that bullied you, right? Like there's so many things that kind of like build up to this. And then I start thinking like, oh my gosh, like thinking about all the people that I've been with. And there was like, you know, like when I first would introduce them to pegging, they'd be like, oh, isn't that gay? Or like all these things, right? They would have all these questions and like this shame around it.
It's actually important to have empathy for those comments because that's coming from a place of like if I do it, does that make me gay? Like and then it's
And that's the thing too. It's like I feel like most of us know what being gay is. It's like when it's the same an interaction with the same sex, right? So it's like if I'm pegging you, you're not gay. Like I'm a chick. It's gay if I were a guy, right? And there's literally nothing even wrong with that at all. Like, in fact, I actually do prefer like bisexual men.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this. Yay, we like you guys.
Bisexual. There's just something so hot about like watching like two guys. I love it. I think it's so sexy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even care about a female threesome. Like I want to have a male threesome.
There's just something. Oh my gosh, so hot about it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, because actually lately I've been like watching some gay guy porn too. I'm like, it's just hot to watch just dicks.
Oh my God. Like Bear?
Kind of.
Ooh.
Yeah. Just two guys together is hot. Yeah. But there's something about it. Yeah. The masculine energy and them engaging in sexual acts together and me. And then I get double the
double the pleasure.
Yeah. I've never had one of those.
Oh, you have to try it. I have
a lot of things to check off my list. You just had?
Yeah, first time last year, February 13th.
She knows the date.
Yes, because it was...
A lot happens for you in February. It's a good month.
I guess
we're still in February right now.
There's something about Valentine's Day or something leading up to that.
There's energy.
Yes.
Collective sexual energy.
I had my first... okay, what is it? It's... Okay.
Right now?
5 people.
Oh.
What is that called?
I don't know. A mini gangbang?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so it was 3 guys and 1 girl.
Wow.
And me. Yeah, 3 guys, 1 girl, and me. And
hold on, pause 1 sec. Is that beep gonna be heard on the Logan? Possibly. Questionable? Yeah. Okay. Let's just go back to I don't know.
Oh, February 13th?
Sure. Oh. All right. So February 13th, sex with 5 people.
Yeah. It was actually at a play party. And it was 3 guys, another girl, and me. And then another woman was mouth feeding me water while I was getting like banged. But like one of the guys was so beautiful. And then there was like
stay hydrated, honey.
It was so magical. That was like a little over a year ago, and I still think about that to this. It wasn't this year, last year. It was the year before, and I still think about that to this day. It was beautiful, and then the guys were, oh my God. I think both of them do porn.
Ooh,
and then it was a couple. I don't know what they do, but very hot couple. She had like huge boobs. It was amazing.
Note on LA sex parties. Hot people. Hot.
Yes.
Because I went to one here a while ago and I wasn't attracted to a single person, so I didn't have sex with anybody. I just watched.
Oh.
But like, yeah, I would like to go to the sex parties where I want to fuck everyone.
Let's go together. Yeah, I will literally give you a list and we'll,
Yay. Oh, so we were talking about somatics and shame. Okay, yes. I don't know. We got off on
yeah. So
pegging,
somatic
orgy.
And shame. I realize I have a lot of shame. Even though I'm very like comfortable with my body, there's still shame. Like I think that in a lot of cases there's even, I don't know if sex phobia is the right word to describe it. But I think I also was indirectly slut shaming myself, like feeling guilty about, the fact that I have I love sex, and I'm a very sexual person, but I was like, oh man, maybe I'm dirty, but that chapter really struck something in me. And not, like I said, not just like sexually, but just in all aspects of my life. I was like, everything that I was too ashamed to do, like I said, posting stuff, right? Like I've always hated the sound of my voice. And so when I would post things, I never posted anything with my voice. And after that chapter, I made my first voiceover on Instagram.
Yeah. Slowly coming out in all the ways.
Yeah. And so now I'm like ready to actually start like posting videos of me talking and just like, like getting past that barrier. And I'm like, wow, like imagine, if we were to trace back like the shame and the fear, like just how much more liberated and how much more like empowered
definitely
we would be.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, that was the most profound
really
thing
cool.
that I learned like from that class, and just like knowing how much trauma sits in our body, how it affects us, and how we can become addicted to these, negative feelings, and how that affects our lives and our relationships, everything.
Wow. Yeah. Just jumping into this podcast, I realized how much I want to learn about sex and the body and sex in history. It's just fascinating. And I feel like at 30, when I'm 31, like, I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of want to go back and like learn some things. I actually just signed up to go to sex tech school. So I didn't even know it was a fucking thing. I'm so excited. They followed me on Instagram. I looked into them, and I actually had a chat with the CEO a few days ago. And basically, I've been Googling the words like sex tech because I want to like, it's anything combining sex and technology. The way that I see sex tech is kind of like more like digital, virtual, and I've been really curious for a while now to build something like an app or a platform or like a seeking arrangements competitor or something. So basically, I think it's a 6-week program or 8-week program, and different, founders and CEOs of different sex tech companies will come in and speak, and there'll be homework. And so it's kind of cool because I get to combine my passion for sex and technology and building companies. My background is in packaged products, which I really am not a fan of anymore. Like it's past chapter of my life, but now I want to get into technology and get really rich.
Oh my God. It's so
I'm super excited to go back to school, but like going back to school is such a niche fucking thing. Like I don't think I would last a day in college again, because it's really not designed for my brain. I don't think it's designed for neurospicy brains, college and our modern education system. But to go back for something in both of our cases that is so specific to what we're passionate about. And what's cool is I feel like you and I are both really passion-led entrepreneurs. Like even how you were like, I made the lingerie line and I did the thing and I tattooed, and it's like just following what truly makes us curious and excited is like the best way to be an entrepreneur.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah. I really want to, I don't think sex talk radio is like it. Like I have a lot of ideas. It's just like one of my outlets.
I love that.
So we both get to stay tuned for each other's things. So you have custom gold butt plugs that look so cute.
Yes.
I saw them. Chokers, handcuffs, blindfolds, all like leather. Do you want to talk a little bit about those goodies?
So, so I'm like really into like high quality luxury BDSM, because I like when I was like shopping and kind of like looking to see what was already there, a lot of stuff unfortunately is kind of like tacky or like cheap looking.
Yeah.
But I wanted to create something that was very luxury and still, is like affordable. Because I also wanted to sort of change the narrative behind BDSM. Like, I wanted to be.
It isn't a tacky thing. Like it, change that perception.
Exactly. And I feel like, when you're looking at this beautiful collar and this beautiful, set of handcuffs, it's like. I want people to feel good about it. Like I want people to feel like, oh, this is like, maybe I could like incorporate this into the bedroom. And my whole goal is, like I said, to literally empower people to explore BDSM. Like there's so many different ways that you can play with it. I mean,
and you got to try to find out what you like and don't like. That's what I'll say. Like
Absolutely.
Maybe handcuffs feel weird to you now. Well, try them on with your partner and just see, and then regroup and talk about it. You don't know, can't knock till you try it.
Exactly. And then the same thing with the anal plug. Like I actually have never even used anal plugs until like way actually with with
the Dom.
Yeah. Okay. I think that was the first time I ever used
Shout out to this guy. Sounds great.
Very, very lovely man. Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, like I like this. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to make something, it's stainless steel, gold plated, like
it's
just
so nice.
Luxury.
Yeah.
Last
night actually, because I was doing a sexy film photo shoot of you and I brought a donut. Yes. And there was just this adorable moment where you were like, oh, like you had the butt plug in one hand and the donut in your other hand. And you were like, it just makes so much fucking sense. And you just shoved it in the donut. So we got some really great photos. Go follow my film account.
Oh my gosh,
I'm excited to get them developed.
I'm so excited too. Just from the
I might have
you sent me.
Yeah, I might have to do those today. I get so excited. Anyways, it was an adorable moment. Yeah, well, I'm really excited to try your products. Thank you for the gifts.
Of course.
And is there anything else that you feel like you want to touch on or share?
I mean, I guess like one other thing too, like I guess like having an OnlyFans too, and still like trying to be taken. I love OnlyFans. Oh my gosh, changed my life. I love it. I love OnlyFans, but unfortunately, I think that it has kind of a negative impact in terms of like dating. And I don't know. There was a while where so I generally, if I do date guys, it's generally like older guys, and so they're not like super into Instagram.
Right.
So I never give them my Instagram, but somehow they find it anyway. And then I think once they do find it, it changes the dynamic of it. And so it's like
I've been doing a lot of disclaimers up front. I have a sex podcast. I have a Patreon. Sometimes guys pay me to sex with them. Like here it is. Here's the baggage. If it's not a vibe, then we're not going to work out in the end anyways. You know what I mean? Like I'm really all about disclosure because I mean, I think it's an incredible hustle. The guest I had on earlier is fucking making $250,000 a month right now on OnlyFans.
A month?
Yes, dude. Like the sky's the limit. Keep posting. Post every day. Like insanity. And so, yeah. And so, I mean, I maybe when men hate too, there's an element of jealousy that they can't go show their dick and make thousands of dollars a month. Like, like you said, sex work is the oldest fucking job. Like people are going to make money how they make money.
Always.
What else were you going to share about OnlyFans though?
Yeah, I guess like when people think of like OnlyFans, they think of like, oh, like I'm having sex on camera.
Right.
No, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it, but I haven't done it yet.
It's an evolution.
Yes. Yeah, I think I just want to say that I really want people to, I want there to be less stigma in terms of OnlyFans. I mean,
yeah,
it's really no different than me like posting like foot pics. I mean sex work is sex work.
I think it's like if you're drawn to it, you're drawn to it. You know what I mean? And that's where there should be less shame. If somebody is like, if it feels really taboo and far-fetched for them and maybe they're going through financial scarcity, like don't do it if it doesn't feel good. But for somebody, a woman that's, feeling really curious or eager or likes attention and wants to get extra money, like I don't think there should be any shame in it either. I've really found my Patreon, it's starting, like I wasn't sure what it was going to be. At first it was a bunch of sexy pics. And then what it's actually turned into people liking is reading my like real life erotica, storytelling, and then also men DMing me and asking for advice. Asking
oh wow,
yes,
I love that.
Like I really, it's so wild. And we were chatting about this last night. Like I used to share about my sex and kink journey on TikTok, and it was taking this and dating, and it was taking this very anti-men tone, this very just frustrated, over it, exhausted, and now through exploring my dominant side and through connecting with these really kind men on social media, there's also lots of men that I have to block, but there is a group of men that are just very kind, and they slide into my messages, and they're genuinely like, I want to have sex with my wife more. I want to create more pleasure. I don't know what to do. And they're not being creepy. They're actually asking for like sex advice. And so I wasn't sure if I was going to stick with Patreon, but now I just feel more like excited because I know I'm being helpful. I know I'm providing advice and being helpful.
Oh my God. You're like healing people.
Yeah, I hope.
I love that. And to be honest with you, like I haven't really had that experience of like men asking for help. So to know that that's what's happening, I think it kind of gives me a little bit of hope too, because for a while I was sort of like on the same like sort of like anti-men phase too. But to hear that, it's like, wow, okay, so there are men who are conscious of like wanting to be better and wanting to improve, you know, in that area in our life. And I think that that's really beautiful. And I love that you're doing that.
Yeah. One more question I'll ask before we wrap up here. How has your experience been dating men versus women? Because I know you're bi.
Yeah. So I actually identify as like pansexual. So I look at things more
less about
outside
less about gender. Sure.
But in general, for men, I think I date men because I do have like kinks that are limited to
dick related.
Yeah, and yes.
Sadly, no, I'm just
I know. It's a very unfortunate thing. It's like sometimes I wish that I were just lesbian, to be honest with you. Dating, I think dating men has been healing in a lot of ways. Like it has forced, like from when I started dating men versus like now, my perspective is so different. Like I was constantly the one that was like, you know, anxious attachment, like constantly chasing and like looking for love. And of course that would attract, you know, men who weren't,
anxious attachments attract avoidant men.
Yeah.
It's this magnet thing.
Oh yeah. It's like, it's crazy. And I have struggled with that, you know, since I you know started dating. And now
and with women
I realized that I've been working on it. I have mother wounds, and so this is a very unfortunate thing. But when I started dating women in the beginning, I had a very misogynistic way of looking at them. Like I didn't really see them as, this sounds terrible, I didn't really see them as people. Like I mean, I saw them as people, but like
you were dating them based on looks or sex or interesting.
Like I wasn't interested in who they were as a character. I wasn't interested.
It like brought out this different side of you.
Yeah, like actually. So while I was chasing love from men, I was imposing those like it was very interesting, like the dynamics.
Sure.
And I love women. I really do. I think if I were to date women now, it would be a very, very different.
You've taken your hiatus to heal, it sounds like, which is incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I'm very, very grateful for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think dating both, or, you know, dating men and women has taught me a lot about myself, taught me a lot about, you know, people, and it gave me the necessary tools to heal and become the person that I am today.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here, Voodoo. Where can people find you and your brands?
Yeah. Okay.
Plural.
So, oh yeah, I have so many. So my main account is Vüdü Dähl. So it's VUDU_DAHL. And then for my brand, Dahlier, it's DAHLIER and then _lingerie. So yeah, that's where you'll find like, you know, BDSM accessories. I have a couple of home accessories as well. So yeah, I'm like starting to create. I want to just create like this like eco-friendly, just explorative brand where, you know, people can buy things.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad we connected, and I'm sure you'll be back soon.
Yes, I can't wait.
Thank you so much for tuning into Sex Talk Radio. Please connect with us on social media. And if you haven't already, please come join me inside of the Sexy Society. It is an online virtual community for women to connect and explore with each other. You can also learn more about my adventures and stories on my private Patreon. Go to patreon.com/sexymusings. That is SEGGSY musings.